and integrated with Drupal. So how we can interact with Drupal via voice command. First, I'm going to give you a presentation of myself. My name is Vincenzo Gambino. I'm a senior developer from Palermo, and I've been working with Drupal for 8 years now. I started with 6, then 7, and now Drupal 8. I've been also a Drupal teacher, a contributor, and a speaker for DrupalCamp London and DrupalCamp Munich. I work for Bright Lemon. It's a digital agency in London specialized in Drupal. We build government education and enterprise application. This is a list of some of our clients. And basically today, as I said, I'm here to talk about virtual assistant, especially Alexa. So I will give you an overview about Alexa. I will give an overview of the Alexa skills, the Lambda function. Then we will go through the integration with Drupal. We will use Drupal web services. And I will give you an overview of the Drupal Alexa module. Then we will see how to test and troubleshoot an Alexa skill. And then we will have time for question and answer. A virtual assistant is a software agent that can perform tasks or services for an individual. Sometimes you can find them, the term chatbot, which basically is a computer program or artificial intelligence, which conducts a conversion with authoring and textual methods. Virtual assistants use the natural language processing. It means that they listen to a human language and they match it then with executable computer commands, basically. And most of them they learn from what basically the user says, and then they can carry on. They basically improve this application, which is called machine learning. A virtual assistant can work in different ways. One is text, so basically in an instant messaging app or chat. For example, customer service, a user writes, how can I top up my phone? And the chatbot can read this request and then paste some link in the chat or divert it to the right person. Or by voice, for example, as Amazon or Siri on the iPhone. Or, for example, even by taking uploading picture, like Bixby on the Samsung Galaxy S8, and the same thing that basically Google does on its phones. They provide services. Virtual assistants can provide lots of services, in particular from Amazon and Google Assistants. They are like every service, new services every day. And they can perform actions such as like asking for weather, facts from Wikipedia and DB. They can do to-do list, shopping list, they can play music, or they can play video. In this case, we're going to talk about Alexa, which is a virtual assistant developed by Amazon, and as I said before, it's capable of voice interaction, so music playback, to-do, setting alarms, streaming, weather, traffic, sport. And the nice thing is that you can basically create your own skill via Alexa really simply. So it's really easy to create an Alexa skill for an app for it and attach it to your service. And also Alexa connects to the smart home devices. So this is some of the Alexa product. We have the Amazon Echo, which is audio only and comes in 3 products. So this is the Echo Plus actually. Then we have the Echo a little bit smaller and the Echo Dot, which is the smaller one. And then the Show, Amazon Echo Show, that shows audio and can play video or show images. As I said, Amazon allows developers to build and publish skills for Alexa using the Alexa Skill Kit. So basically, any developer can develop the skill, publish it, and then make it available in the Amazon Marketplace. And the nice thing is that when you develop an app, you don't write the code in Alexa. You write the code in your own server, and or in the Amazon AWS Lambda service. So when you go to the developer portal of Amazon, you can create the Alexa skill. You just add the metadata such as name, logo, description, queries, and keywords. Then the skill is deployed to the Amazon Alexa service, but not your custom code. Your custom code will live or either in a Lambda function or either in your own service. You will define your endpoint, and then you will point the request to that endpoint. So this is an Alexa skill cycle. This is an example with an AWS Lambda function. So the user asks a question to Amazon Echo. the Amazon Echo asks Alexa skill to process the request. The request is processed and sent it to the Lambda function, and then the Lambda function processes it and sends the response back to the Alexa skill, and then the Alexa skill to the Amazon Echo back again. So you never interact directly with the Alexa skill or the hardware itself. Everything will be done through the Lambda function. You will receive a JSON payload from Amazon, and then you can elaborate on your own side. So the Lambda function is an event-driven serverless computing platform provided by Amazon. So basically what happens is you can deploy into Amazon just one function, and you can use the AWS resources to basically perform this action. So instead of using an entire server, so instead of going to the Elastic container, you create the Lambda function, and basically you use less resources from Amazon, but also it's costless and improve performance as well. And you can write code in Node.js, Python, Java, Go, and C#. So how do we create a skill on Alexa? So as I said, we go to the developer portal. We need to add the invocation name. So basically it will be the name that the user will call this skill. Then the intent that represents an action that fulfills a user spoken request. Then the slots that are basically the parameters of the intent. Then we have the option to add interface if you want to add any audio player or video, and then the endpoint. So basically the endpoint that will receive the JSON request from the intent. So the invocation name, as I said, is said at the beginning of the interaction. So for example, if we have an app and the invocation name is Drupal Poland, the user will say, Alexa, open Drupal Poland. In this case, it will start the session with the skill. Intent and slots. As I said, intents represent the action that the user would like to do. So basically, they can have arguments. And in this case, if we have the app and we want to create a content through the Drupal Poland skill, we can have the intent, which is create content, and then the slot text parameter as a parameter, which is Drupal event, so the name of the content. So in this case, we can ask we can say, Alexa, ask Drupal Poland to create content Drupal event. In this case, it will send the payload, JSON payload, to the endpoint with those information. So it will pass the intent and the parameter. And the simple utterances basically are the mapping from a natural language query to an intent. So basically, we registered in a machine way into the Alexa skill, but then we can translate it into human readable language from the same skill as well. So if we want to retrieve the latest nodes, so we have the latest nodes intent, the simple utterances will be tell me the latest nodes, and this will be mapped to this intent. So the endpoint, as I said, is where you define the URL for your custom code. It can be in a Lambda function or in a custom endpoint. For this presentation, I will use a Lambda function. So why there is the need to interact, to add Alexa into Drupal? Because from now we know that we have different ways of serving content. So we have a web application where the user can go and click, same as the mobile application. They can look for content, search for content, and read it. We can have RSS feed to spread our content, newsletter, or social media platform, or even advertisement. Another way for people to access or for us to serve the content is via voice command. And to do this, we will build a Drupal Poland skill. So basically, in this skill, we will create a content type called Alexa on a Drupal installation. We will open the endpoints for creating the nodes. We will create a REST export views to retrieve the content. Then we will create the Alexa skill, and then we will create a Lambda function that communicates with Drupal. So the skill requirements are, we can create nodes, and we can retrieve the latest 5 nodes. So first of all, we need to enable from Drupal the core modules, serialization, RESTful web services, HTTP basic authentication. Because when we want to create a node, we need an authentication, so we have HTTP basic authentication. Plus the country module REST UI that gives us the chance to manage the endpoint much easier. those are here, that are already installed. So after that, we need to create a content type called Alexa. And here we have it. We make sure that we haven't got any content on it. Perfect. Now we need to open the endpoint for creating the node. As I said, REST UI gives you the chance to manage your endpoint very easily. So what we do in configuration, REST UI, and basically I already enabled the content endpoint. So basically this service is already in Drupal core as those. So I just enabled the module and those are already in there. So you can use Postman or other service and start to test if you can access those services. So, and I configure it that my endpoint can get post request, so can receive post request in a JSON format, and the authentication would be basic auth. So in this case, if you want to post a comment, a content must be JSON, and the authentication must be basic auth. Now we need to create simple views, REST export simple views to retrieve the content. And I have it in here. So these are simple serialized views. Shows title, the latest 5 nodes, and is published. So at the moment it's empty because we haven't got any content. And now we go and we create the Alexa skill. So the Alexa skill will have the name DrupalCamp Poland. The invocation name will be Drupal Poland. So when we will say Alexa open Drupal Poland, it will give us the default message from our skill. So this is my skill. I have called DrupalCamp Poland. And in the invocation name, I set Drupal Poland. Now we want to create the intent. So we want the user to retrieve content from our site. So we create the intent latest nodes. So the intent name will be latest nodes. The sample utterance will be tell me the latest nodes. So when the user will say Alexa ask Drupal Poland to tell me the latest nodes, it will retrieve the latest 5 nodes of the application. And the intent is here. So I create this intent, name latest node, and the utterances, the sample utterances is tell me the latest node. Of course, you can add as many utterances you want. They will be mapped to the same intent. So you can say, for example, tell me the latest nodes, tell me the latest content, what's new on the site, these kind of things. And then you will map it from this UI into this intent here. Now we want to create the intent create node. So people can create node through Alexa. So the intent name will be create node. The simple utterances is create node, and we will pass the parameter title. So we will have a slot called title. So first we create the slot from here, which is already created, and I pass some accept value. So we have a 1 word value, 2 words title, and 3 word slot. So basically this slot can contain up to 3 words temporary. And then the intent, basically we have the create node intent, and the sample utterances is create content, and then we pass the slot, which is mapped to our slot that we created before. Now we talk a little bit about the Lambda function. As I said, they are functions that can be sped up from AWS on demand. Basically, they are off. When they're called, they will be on, and then off again. So now we're going to create the Lambda function. We'll use like an empty template. We'll call it DCP. and the runtime will be Node.js 6.10. And we will add the trigger, which is the Alexa skill kit. So from the AWS account, you can add your Lambda function. So if we start from here, you can create a Lambda function here from scratch. You can use blueprints as well, and they will give you lots of prefixed rules here. But I'm using the one from scratch here. So I've used the Node.js runtime. Then I've added the trigger, which is the Alexa skill kit in here. So I just bring it from here to here. So I just click it and it added it. And here, basically, you can write your function. So Alexa will call this endpoint, will send the JSON request to this endpoint, and this will process the request. So every Lambda function must be wrapped on export handler, so on this function here, to make it work. As per this now. So now there are 4 events on the Amazon skill. So there is the first one, which is new section. So basically it's called when the new session starts, so when the app is invoked. Then there is the launch request, which is as well performed when the app skill has been invoked. So when you say Alexa open Drupal Poland, it will perform this action here. And then the intent request. The intent request will go through the intent and read which one has been used by the user recently in the request, and then will send the response back. And then the session end request is when basically the session is ended, and if you want to perform any action, you can perform it here as well. So if you want to send any statistic or you want to save something somewhere which is not related to intent, so this is what the session end request is meant to. So this is the new session event. So we have a new session, and we can use console log to debug. Then we have the launch request. So we go through the request type. So if it's a launch request, we'll send back the response, welcome to DrupalCamp Poland Alexa skill, and we will end the session when you write through here. This is an intent request. So when basically from here, from the request type, we have the case launch request, then we will have the case intent request. That it means that it's an intent. And then we will go through the intent and we'll see which case of intent is that the user wants to use. And then we have the session and the request. So when we finish the request, and then the message if it fails. Then we have the helpers. So those basically are functions that we need to use to send the response back. So they will build the JSON payload back to the Alexa. So we have the type, the session ended. And then in the generate response, we have the text itself of the response. So now that we have created our Lambda function, we can copy the code, the ID of the Lambda function, and paste it into the Alexa skill itself. So here is my code for the Lambda function. So I have the latest node, I have the endpoint that points to Drupal, and I send the response back. So latest nodes are, and then the results. I had the create node. So here I do the post request to Drupal, and I send the response back. So we copy the ID of the Lambda function, and we paste it into the endpoint here. So now the skill communicates with the Lambda function. So now, how do we test Lambda function? We can, the Alexa skill. We can test it from the Alexa skill itself. So from here, we save it, and then we click on test. And here we can actually write the text. So now I'm going to see if we can hear the response back. So we can start, so the test, we start with the invocation name. So we say open Drupal Poland. It assumes that we already say Alexa, in this case, for this test.
Welcome to DrupalCamp Poland Alexa skill.
So this was the launch request. And we can find it in here. So in this bit here. So in our Lambda function here. So welcome to DrupalCamp Poland Alexa skill. Now we want to test the content creation. So when we create a content, we ask Alexa to create a content in Drupal, and then she will say back, okay, I created the content, and it will repeat the title. So we'll create.
Added content Poland.
I think we can start to see it from here. This one.
Added content Drupal. Added content drop ticker.
Okay, now we have 3 content on our site, and as you see, we just use the Alexa skill. We create the function to process the request, and then we send it to Drupal as like to the default endpoint for creating content. Now the last test is basically to retrieve the content that we have created. So we will ask Drupal Poland to tell me the latest node.
Latest nodes are drop ticker, Drupal, Poland.
So it retrieved the latest 3. We have just 3 created, so we have those 3. So how do we test the Alexa skill? As I showed you already, we can test it from here. So you can send a request and see what's the response back. Here, as you see the JSON payload that the Alexa skill sends to the endpoint. So even if you send it to a Lambda function, or if you send it to a Symfony endpoint or Drupal endpoint, it will receive this part here, and you must return this output here. So you must return a message like this to the Alexa in order to make it work. So now, as I say, in the Lambda function, we have here test, and what we can do basically, we can create a new test to see the latest nodes. We already have the latest nodes, but we can do, so we can test the first. So the first one I did.
Welcome to DrupalCamp Poland Alexa skill.
So now I can copy this JSON here, and I can create a new test here. Hold it. So now we can test it. So we can see that it succeeds. We have the output, and also we can log anything in here. So we have the log new section, the launch request. So if change something here. Now this bit has changed here, so you have a live troubleshooting here. So if you want to see, I don't know, do you see this file? Okay, so this is my Lambda function. So as I said, we wrapped it into the export. Then we have the new section event, and then we start to see which request type is. So we have the launch request, and I send the welcome message back. If there is an intent, if there is a case of intent, it will start to go into the intent itself. So we have the latest nodes, where I have the endpoint, so is my Drupal views export. So I get the body, I check what the results are here, I put it into an array, and then implode it, so they are in comma separated, and I put it back here in the build response. So the latest nodes are, and it will list all the nodes. Similar thing for the node creation. So I have a post request with my endpoint, which is node with the default from Drupal. I pass the headers, the basic authorization, and then the status code. I check there are no errors, and then I send the response back, added new content title. So here we can write whatever we want. It's just free text, and Alexa will repeat it. So there is a Drupal module that can do this one instead of the Lambda function. The difference is that basically this module will install. I'm gonna just show you. It would be quicker. So when you install the module, you have the chance to basically map one Alexa skill to your application. So all the authentication is done by this, not the authentication of the user, but just the authorization to use the skill will be done by this code. And then it will open a endpoint, which basically with this endpoint will then process the intent of the request in the same way we did with the Lambda function. So instead of doing it in the Lambda function, can be done within Drupal. The difference is that in this case I'm using directly the Drupal API, the Drupal Web Services API, and I can add as many services as I want. So I do the one in Alexa with the Lambda function, then I can do Google Home, and I can contact the same endpoint, or I can do anything else, other service that connects to my site in Drupal. And in this case, I just use from Drupal side, I just opening the endpoint. But if I install this module, then I need to do my logic inside the Alexa module itself, and maybe it may not be reusable for all the others, all the other services that I would like to use as well. So I prefer to use Lambda function to send the request to Drupal, and then Drupal will use the built-in services to respond. Have you got any question? Yes.
Hey, thanks for a great presentation. I'd like to ask you, how flexible is Alexa according to reading your commands? For example, if I misread a word, is it possible that Alexa hint me something to guide into the commands that I defined before?
You mean like a multi-step process?
I mean, for example, we've got the command to create a node.
Yes.
For example, if I spell the word improperly, or I'll use different words instead of create, let's say make a node, would it be possible to catch my idea about creating a node?
Yes.
Is it that intelligent or not yet?
No, not that intelligent. You must basically is the sample occurrence. You might change that. So in creating node, we say creating content, but potentially we can say create node, and then we pass the title. and this is another way for the user to say. But then spelling mistake or misunderstanding. Alexa may understand, accent or these kind of things, but not if the word is different. If the word is different, like node and content, then you have to map it. But if you say node or node, like in this way, like a different accent, then maybe it may be tough. Yes, maybe Google is better to picking up accent than Alexa.
They can map it for
Okay. So basically, from here, if you want to create a new intent, you click on Add, and we can add another intent. We can call it site name. So site name is the new intent, and then we can add the simple utterances. Show me. Or tell me. So now we have created an intent, see site name, and we call it we call it like this. So site name, and the utterances will be tell me the site name, or we can say as well what is the site name. So now we have this intent. We save it and we build a module. So the user now will ask what is the site name or tell me the site name, and we can add now the response back. So we can go into the Node.js. So we have we can use this one. So we map in our function. So now Alexa will send the JSON request with intent name, site name, and then we can retrieve back the message. Let me just check. So we have site name as intent. So when the intent is site name, the response will be this. And now if we go into test, let's see if it fails.
Oh, I don't know that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So this is I just want to double check one thing. Yeah, in fact, what is the site name doesn't mean. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a live demo, it's always fine. So now it's building. Taking a bit of time, sorry.
maybe a question meanwhile. How is to work with the Amazon market? How to place this application to the public endpoints or whatever?
Yes, so you talk about this particular application, DrupalCamp Poland.
If I want to make it public,
Yeah, so basically...
possible, do I need to pay or they need to test how that works?
Okay, so finish this example and then I will show you, because I got one public, so...
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Should we troubleshoot now? Okay, the intent is right. So maybe it's the...
Site name is DrupalCamp Poland.
Okay, we did it. So basically took this wording here from the intent site name. So now, if you want to publish your skill, from here you can click launch, and basically you need to add the public name, one short description, detailed description, the phrase that you want to add, so a single interaction, which are different from the intent, from the sample utterances. And then you want to add these small icons, large icon, category, keywords, privacy policy, and then you click and save and continue. And then it will go under review from the Amazon developer team, and then it will call you back and say, okay, it's fine. Or, for example, in my case, I have one issue where in one intent I left the session open, so they told me to fix it, I fixed it, and then they publish it live. You're welcome. Any other question?
Is there an analytics to which the user is asking the Alexa?
Yes.
Or our app?
Well, you can map it from the end session, so in your Lambda function or in your endpoint, you can map in the end request. Here you can see, you can send the intent, you can map in your own statistics manager, or you can, there is a history, okay, intent history here. When it's live, it will show you here the intent history, so everything that has been said, and also your personal request from the Alexa app, because then you need to install the Alexa app on your phone, and then you will see the history of your request as well. Okay. Okay, thank you.